Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and I was requested or recommended to watch this film for the very first time. And it was odd because I realized that I already owned this movie. I must have bought it and just never got around to watching it. Until now, I'm talking about American History X. American History X is a 1998 film that was directed by Tony Kaye, and boy, boy was this movie interesting to watch. This was not one of the more easier watches that I've ever had for a film. This was rough. This was rough on so many levels. First things first, Edward Norton plays his character Derek, and Edward Norton, real piece of shit. He is. I'm sorry, but especially at the beginning, you see that he's kind of almost the leader of this skinhead neo-Nazi-like group who are just super racist, super. They hate anybody who's not white. It's a lot of, I want to say, the first half hour, 40 minutes of just Edward Norton spewing his hatred, spewing his rhetoric, spewing his whole philosophy and how all of his followers will kind of go along with what he's preaching on how much everyone else sucks and how everyone else is the problem in this country and everyone else is what's wrong with what's going on. And you almost, at least I got nervous for the beginning of it, thinking, is this in their point of view? Meaning, because it is, but is this in their point of view in the sense of we're going to, supposed to understand why he hates other races or why he feels the way that he feels? Especially in that one basketball scene where he bets a bunch of black guys on the court. Hey, if we beat you in this game, you guys are out. You're gone. You're banned from this court. And of course, they win. And the triumphant music and them celebrating after they beat these black guys and how they're like, haha, get out of our court. Get out of here, you N-words. And a lot of N-words going around. A lot of other racist terms going around. And I was just super uncomfortable. I was starting to hate everything that I was watching, which I think was the point. Because a lot of that is told almost through flashback and past tense, even if it was just a couple of months or a couple of years beforehand, it's in black and white to show you that, yeah, this is in the past. Because Edward Norton went to jail. He went to jail because these two black guys were trying to steal his truck, and he rushes out of the house and immediately kills them without hesitation, shoots them dead. There's one guy, though, who's still alive, barely, and I'm sure, because this is something that I never really knew 100% what this movie was about. I knew it had to do with some intense subject matters. I knew that it was race-related, and I knew this one thing that everybody talked about, Edward Norton curb stomping this guy, and that's what happens. You see him curb stomp this guy's head, and it's brutal. It's violent. It's all just, I'm like, fuck, man, what am I watching here? So because of that, he goes to prison. Edward Norton's character does indeed go to prison. I believe it was for 3 or 4 years. Definitely not long enough, given the fact that he murdered people. But that's kind of the point, how he sort of got lucky with his sentencing, especially compared to another black guy in the same prison who only got convicted of, quote, assault on a cop when all he was doing, granted illegal, but he was stealing a TV. The cops grabbed him. He dropped the TV on the cop's foot. Oh, assault! 6 years. Twice as much as what Ed Norton got for killing a black guy in any event. So you see Edward Norton getting out of prison now, and he's a changed man. He actually wants nothing to do with that race bullshit, all that racist shit, that Nazi shit. Hell, he had a tattoo of the Nazi symbol on his chest. You can't escape it. But now he's like, fuck, this was wrong. This was stupid. This was dumb. I regret all of this. And he has a younger brother Danny, played by Edward Furlong. Edward Furlong, I used to always only know him as John Connor from Terminator 2, but to see him in this movie, he has a decent amount of scenes in this film where you see him being inspired by his brother, especially while his brother was gone. He sort of took up and went down the same path that his brother had previously done, and you see him in school and he's sort of doing stupid shit. And I appreciated that dynamic. I appreciated that relationship, especially just the idea of racism for the most part is taught or learned. It's not really something you're born with, and not really something you feel. You kind of see it in action through so many different ways of how these characters pick up on that way of thinking, how it wasn't really initially their own thoughts. And I found that fascinating. I thought Edward Furlong's performance was good, but obviously Edward Norton, fuck. He's clearly stealing the show with his acting, because you see so many various different points of Edward Norton's character, his life, him before all of this hate, and how he was more about just school and trying to pass grades, and then you see the turn, and now he's an asshole piece of shit, and then post prison where you see that he's trying to take his life back. So many great acting moments from Edward Norton. Of course, just another example of why he's a great actor. And this might be the most buff, the most in shape, the biggest I've seen Edward Norton. He looks swole at some certain points in the movie. The whole sequence where he's in prison was fuck. Heartbreaking. It was nice to see him connect with a black guy, to actually being able to talk to one and say, like, wow, okay, if everything I kind of knew and everything that I've been going about was maybe wrong. And prison rape looks like the worst thing ever. Obviously, him being in prison for what he did, it is what it is, right? But I feel like if you watch this movie and you see what happens in prison, that alone should make you go, nope, I'm not going. I'm not committing any crime. I'm not breathing wrong around cops, because I don't want anything to do with that bullshit. I'm just saying. Some of the other actors that we have, Stacy Keach he's the guy. He plays Cameron. He's the guy that's in charge of that Nazi group. I mean, Edward Norton's the leader as far as giving speeches and rallying everyone, motivating everyone. But this other guy, he's really the one who's the puppet master and got the strings going. And just looking at that dude made me want to punch him in the face. He was a real asshole. Fairuza Balk, who I've seen her in so many movies, especially in the 90s, Waterboy, The Craft. This film, she toes that line of being hot, but also a crazy bitch. So she played that perfectly. Beverly D'Angelo plays the mother who, fuck, I can't imagine being a mother in this situation who is trying to be there for her son, trying to hope that he can get better and get through this, but also he didn't get this from her. She's not in the same viewpoint as him. She does not believe in all that same stuff. There is one scene where after their father died years later, Beverly D'Angelo, she's trying to date this new guy, Elliot Gould. They're over for dinner, and poor Elliot Gould has to stand there, and listen to Edward Norton say some of the most racist, anti-Semitic, horrible stuff that I think I've ever heard. Just lashing out, throwing in his face, get the fuck out, you're not wanted here. You see this? This means you're not wanted. And it breaks your heart, because what else are you going to do at that point, at that situation? Ethan Suplee, who I've seen in 100 other things, course, in this role, it's like, yeah, well, there it is. Avery Brooks plays Mr. Sweeney. He's the teacher at the school he's black guy. So it was nice to at least get one black dude. There's a couple others, but one black guy that is not a stereotype. He's not in a gang. He doesn't further enforce that way that some of these other racist characters look at black people. Like, no, he means well. He's well educated. He's trying to steer them down a better path. And also, William Russ. Really quick, I want to mention William Russ because the whole movie they kind of talk about their father, Edward Norton, his father, how much he meant to him, how much of a good person he was. He was a firefighter. He did all this great stuff. And he was killed, shot down by a person in the gang, seemingly. And that's what kind of got him started in the path. And you only get one scene near the end where you actually see the father, William Russ. You actually see what kind of a guy he was. And it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking for so many reasons to see the type of stuff he was saying, but more so because I grew up on 90s sitcoms. There was a lot of TV fathers that I loved and admired and looked up to as a father figure. And William Russ is definitely like in the top 5 TV dads for me, Boy Meets World and whatnot. And that was brutal. That was brutal. That scene was rough to sit through and watch. A lot of moments, a lot of scenes in this movie is rough and brutal to sit through. The ending, fuck. Talk about a punch in the gut. Talk about a slap in the face. Talk about kicking you in the balls and saying, that's life. The hate just goes around and around in a circle, and it sucks because of how true it all is. So yeah, this movie, it was a tough watch. It was brutal at points. It was sad at other points. But I appreciate it. I appreciate that now I can come out and say, yeah, I've seen that movie. And yeah, I liked what they were telling. I liked what they were getting across. I liked the angles on both ends that they were trying to convey on hate all the way around is not good and how much it can fuck up your life. Yeah, this movie, it's good, but boy, I don't know how quick I will be to rewatch it. You know, it's one of those films that's like, okay, I've seen it and it's good, but I'm not going to be quick to rewatch it. It's that intense. Great performances, though. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of American History X? Do you agree or do you disagree? Is it too maybe intense? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.